What is up, guys? I'm out here. I'm back. Nah, what's up? It's been so long since I made a YouTube video, but recently I just spent a week meditating with monks in Thailand, living in a monastery. And yeah, I wanted to kind of share what I learned, my experience, what I went through, in case somebody else wants to go meditate with monks or you don't. And now you don't have to, because I did. So first, I mean, why did I go, right? Why was I even meditating with monks in Thailand? That is the question. Well, a few weeks ago, I had to leave Bali to get my visa renewed, basically. And I was kind of feeling like I wanted a little switch up, maybe go somewhere new, and, you know, lock in. That was my goal, going to Thailand, to lock in. So I was like, I'm gonna go to Thailand. I booked a place in Koh Phangan, and that was my plan, to go live in Koh Phangan, which is another island in Thailand that a lot of people like. A lot of my friends that I meet here in Bali, they say they really like it there. So I had been wanting to check that out for a while, but at this moment I didn't even know about the monastery yet. This was new to me, the monastery. Like, I wasn't even aware of it at all. So I get to Koh Phangan, and like I said, my intention was to lock in, to do a bunch of work, and to be super focused. And honestly, at first, that's exactly what happened. It was really good for focusing there, because it was kind of boring. Like, the high season had ended, so there wasn't too many people. Compared to Bali, there was like nobody. Like, Bali, there's a lot of people, a lot of action, a lot of movement. There, it was like so quiet, so peaceful, and yeah, I felt honestly great at first. Like, I could just focus and lock in because I had no distractions. It was just me, my computer, and I had a nice Airbnb for the first like few days, so I felt really good. But then that Airbnb, like, somebody else had booked it, so I had to move to another one, which I didn't really like as much. And I don't know, I think it was that mixed with, like, the first 5 days I was there, I was working like 10 or 12 hours every single day, just like glued to my computer screen. And it felt good, like I was just following my energy, but I think it was just too much. And like, I'm a creator, right? Obviously, my job is basically to create and to be creative. And whenever I try to force myself to create, or I'm locked in a room that I don't really feel that comfortable in, it's not really easy for me to create, right? Like, so much of creating is doing new things and living life and not forcing it, right? Like, moving and creating from a place that is aligned, that feels good, like from the heart. So you have to actually go out in life and live to be able to create. If I'm just telling myself that I have to be inside and create all day, then I have nothing to create about, basically. You know, especially like the way that I approach social media and creativity, it's not teaching from this mountaintop, like I have things figured out. It's living life and then turning my experiences into content or into insights, into lessons that actually help other people, and sharing from my real lived experience, right? So if I'm just there, I needed to create content, and I don't feel good in my environment, then it just doesn't work, right? So I was already kind of feeling a little bit burnt out, and like I didn't have any motivation to create, and I felt kind of stuck, especially because I literally was working for like 10-hour days for like a week. And also, this is a side note, but in Thailand, weed is legal. So yeah, I was smoking weed, and at first it's good. Like, if you go months without smoking and then occasionally you smoke a little bit, it's a good thing, right? It gives you ideas. It like gets your juices flowing. Maybe things where you were a little blocked or you couldn't see, like it helps you see a new perspective of things. So I'm not against weed. Like, I think weed sometimes can really help, but I do think there's a point of diminishing returns, right, where you start to smoke too much and you're just high all the time, and then those benefits don't really happen anymore, right? It just kind of makes you a little bit groggy. You don't wake up as sharp. You're a little slower. It makes you a little bit lazy. And yeah, I think after a while it actually disconnects you from yourself, because you're so tapped in to like the field or whatever you want to call it. I don't know, right? Like when you're high, like you get new ideas and downloads and like all this, like you're so tapped into this field, but it's harder to execute, right? Like when I'm high, I don't feel like calling people or like making content or filming because I just look stoned. So like you get kind of stuck in this zone where you're just high and you're getting all these ideas, but you're not actually doing anything. And sure, if you're super disciplined and you're like, I'm only gonna smoke at night, whatever, it just gets hard, is all I'm saying, after a while. Because in Thailand, it's like so accessible. Like you can literally get weed at every corner. I'm not even kidding. There's more weed shops than there are like 7-Elevens or corner stores. They're like all over the place. And in my opinion, I think it's too much, honestly. I don't actually see that being conducive for a healthy, functioning society. Like if I had a country, this is just me, theoretically speaking, if I owned a country, I don't think I would want weed corners at every corner, weed stores at every corner, and then all of my citizens just high all the time, right? Because at these stores is just Thailand people that are just stoned all the time. And like, for me, it just doesn't seem like that's a net positive for society. Not that weed can't be useful sometimes, just that extreme. Anyways, I digress. I was just feeling like, one, I was getting to that point where it wasn't serving me to be smoking or to be around it so much. Everywhere you went, people were just smoking weed. I was getting kind of tired of it. And two, I felt like I needed to slow down. Like I was trying to go too fast. And then I saw this video that my friend Tara Moore posted. Shout out Tara. And she was saying, right now, if your Aries is in Saturn or something like this, I don't remember what she said, but it was like, it resonated with me. Like, one thing that is really important right now is to move slow. To remember that moving slow is fast. And I was like, holy shit, this is exactly what I needed to hear. Because I was trying to move fast and I was getting blocked and nothing was working, and this seems to be a constant theme in my life regardless. But I was like, you know what? I need to take this to heart. So even then, I was already feeling like I really wanted to slow down. So one of the days, I was like, I'm gonna go for a hike to a waterfall, right? Like, I don't need to be working. I'm living on an island in Thailand. Like, why am I not exploring the island? So I go to this waterfall and it's closed because it was like 5 p.m. I was trying to go for sunset. They wouldn't let me in. And I was like, okay, whatever. So then I walk into this ice cream shop that was right next door. And instantly, I see this girl and we make eye contact. And it felt like, you know, kind of significant. So I get my ice cream or whatever, and then I walk up to her, and she was with 2 other friends, and I hear them talking about, like, the universe, and, like, the guy had said the term star seeds, which I don't use this term, but I was like, what the fuck y'all talking about star seeds? You know what I mean? And then so we started chatting, and we became friends. I ended up getting dinner with them, and it was cool. We were just talking about life, about the universe, about 3D, 5D stuff. Like, you know, it was a little bit out there because Koh Phangan is like a very spiritual place, like spiritual, you know, new age. But regardless, it was cool. You know, I like all this stuff. So we were connecting over that. And then a few days later, that girl, we go and get coffee in the morning because she's leaving, right? And in the morning that day on a Sunday, she was telling me that she was about to go and make her way to a monastery in northern Thailand. And I had made a video on Instagram talking about comparing Bali and Thailand and just my opinions on both, and it got a lot of traction. Like, it kind of went like mini viral, and so many people were like, you got to go check out the north of Thailand, yada yada. And then my Airbnb, like how I mentioned that first I was in one that I liked and then I had to move to a shitty one. Well, that day I was actually going to move back to the one that I liked. I think it was the 9th of May. And the plan was to stay from the 9th to the 18th in the one that I liked and just continue working, building, creating, whatever. But with all these things, like I said, all these things that were kind of, one, pointing me to slow down, two, pointing me to like go live life so that I can actually have things to talk and write and create about, and three, this like very synchronous encounter with this girl and her friends and her telling me about the monastery, and four, my Airbnb ending, which I hadn't paid for the new one yet. So I literally was like, open possibilities. Like, I could actually just leave. Like, I don't have to stay here in Koh Phangan. And also pair that with just me just getting a little bit tired of Koh Phangan because everybody was just smoking weed and all this stuff, right? So there's all these things. There's all these combobulation of signs, if you will, just pointing me to like switch things up. And then she told me about the monastery, and it just seemed really exciting to me. Like going to the north of Thailand to check out more of Thailand and to go meditate with monks, to slow down. You know what I mean? Like, it all just kind of clicked. And she leaves, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna fucking go. So I check like how I can get there because Koh Phangan is on the south, it's an island, and the monastery is close to Pai, which is near Chiang Mai, which is on the north of Thailand. So I look, and there was a flight out of the closest like port city the next morning. But there was only one ferry that I could take that day, and it was leaving in an hour. So like, I go from not even knowing about this place to Sunday morning, I meet my friend Pia for coffee. She tells me about it. I go back, I look, there's a flight the next morning from Siratani, but the only way I could get to Siratani was if I left in an hour. So I was like, fuck it, dude, I'm going. So I booked the ferry and I booked the flight. I leave instantly, pack my bag, and I go get on the ferry, and then now my journey begins up to the north of Thailand, which this is a whole another story, is like the actual journey, because I took the ferry and then I stayed the night in Siratani because I was flying the next morning. So that was really cool, staying there. I stayed in this hostel, and it was really cool. It was like a very authentic Thai town. Like, it was not touristy at all. I think it was like low-key kind of touristy for Thai people, because there was a lot happening in the center. There was like a market, and it was really cool. It was just like very authentic, so it was cool to see that. And then in the morning, I go to Chiang Mai. And then Chiang Mai was cool too. It was Sunday, so I walked around like the town square. I went to some temples. I met this one girl at a temple, and then we just kind of spent the evening together walking around, exploring. It was cool. And the next morning, I was gonna make my way to the monastery, right? And I didn't know how far this freaking monastery was from Chiang Mai, okay? And like, I had literally no idea. So I realized that it's like 4.5 hours away. And I'm like, fuck, okay, whatever. So like, just to recap, I leave instantly Koh Phangan, right? This is one day. And then I stay the night in Siratani, and then I go to Chiang Mai. That's another day. And then the next day, I had to take a van. So that's 3 full days of traveling to this monastery, right? Like, this went from being like a spontaneous idea to like a 3-day journey just to get to this fucking monastery, bro. So then I am in this van, and I'm the only white dude in this van. It's only Thai people. And then later I found out there was a Chinese girl that also got off with me at the monastery, but I was the only like white dude on this freaking van, right? Like, I thought it was all just Thai people, and it mostly was. And I'm sitting in the back with a mom and her 2 kids next to me, and I shit you not, this was a van ride from hell. It was 4.5 hours of pure torture because we were going through these windy ass fucking roads, driving like 100 kilometers an hour like this, and I was in the back, so it was going and I shit you not, I puked like 5 times on this fucking van ride. I could not. It was horrible. I was so sick. I've never been this motion sick, like, probably ever in my life. There was nowhere for me to puke besides on the, like, in the little space. Like, I couldn't open the window. I was basically puking on myself because sometimes I would puke and, like, the van would be moving and, like, it would get on me. It was horrible. I'm not gonna lie. Like, in this moment, I was 100% questioning why the hell I was in this fucking van going to this monastery. Like, for what? You know, like, why am I here? Why am I going here? Like, this is absolutely ridiculous. Get me out of this fucking van. I don't want to ride this van on the way back. This is the worst thing I've ever fucking done in my life. Like, fuck this shit. I was done. I hated it. But whatever, as with everything, it's all impermanent. And eventually, we make it to this monastery. I make it to the monastery. So, they drop us off. They drop me off, but me and this other little Chinese girl get off together. And I'm like, oh, you're going too. Cool. So, we start walking. It's raining. At first, when we go in, it feels like low-key creepy, like eerie. Like I said, it was like raining, and we walk in, it's just this giant, like, you were in the forest, you know what I mean? So there's like a giant field, and at first, there's like a little store, like it's part of the premise, where there was like some people eating, and everybody's wearing white, right? Because that's what they give you, and everybody's quiet, nobody's talking. So it just had this like weird like psych ward, low-key culty energy. At first I was like, I feel like I'm in a prison. But anyways, we keep walking towards like the entrance or like the main place. We check in, and yeah, at this point I'm in a monastery. It was very interesting, honestly. Like I said, everybody was really quiet, and it was like, what's going on? I don't really know, right? Like, I don't know what I just got myself into, you know? I've never been to a monastery. And yeah, the first day, I had arrived there around 4 p.m. And at 6, we had like, it was when we would do the evening chant. So I showed up for the first evening chant, basically. And yeah, it was a little interesting. The chanting was the part that I didn't really enjoy, that I enjoyed the least, let's say. Because we were chanting stuff, and then we were like saying how the Buddha is like our only refuge. And I honestly just didn't really participate in the chanting because your words are literally spells, right? So like what you say and what you profess is like super like meaningful. And I wasn't really trying to profess these things, right? So regardless, I didn't really participate. But yeah, this is where things got kind of interesting because I was actually shocked at what I learned about Buddhism. I didn't know much about Buddhism, right? Like, I had thought I knew about Buddhism before, and I knew about things like impermanence and meditation. Obviously, like, meditation has played a big role in my life. But it was really cool and fascinating to learn more about Buddhism because I didn't really know. And like, there wasn't much to do besides obviously meditate and sit in silence and then to read. They had like a library, so you could grab books and you could read them. So there was a lot of stuff about, you know, Buddhism as a whole, about the history and stuff. So I literally just took this as like an opportunity for me to learn about meditation and learn about Buddhism, right? Because why not, right? It's interesting. I've always been really fascinated by it and interested in it. And it was a really cool opportunity to just learn. So I started reading a lot about the history and stuff. And one of the things that shocked me the most was how Buddhism doesn't believe in God. And I was super curious about it because one of the monks would do like an afternoon lecture and a meditation, and then afterwards we could ask him questions. And I was genuinely curious. Like, I have known that Buddhism didn't believe in God, right? But like, I don't know, it was something different to like experience it firsthand, not even at the monastery, but also in Thailand as a whole. Like, the video that I had made about Bali versus Thailand, it had a lot to do with like the energy that I feel and that I felt in each place. And it is just fundamentally different. And I think it all stems back to this. It's like a society, one that believes in God or gods, because here in Bali it's Hindu, right? So they believe in the gods. And then a society that basically doesn't believe in any God, right? And what Buddhism believes is basically that our bodies are just matter, right? Like, just made of elements: earth, water, wind, air, and that we are non-existent, basically. That there is no big I, there is no higher self, there is no essence, there is no soul. It's basically just, we are composed of the elements, and our mind, we are not our mind, we are not our bodies. Like, we're actually non-existent. Like, one of the core tenets is non-self, meaning that we are literally just conscious. Like, every moment we are actually dying and getting reborn, basically. Like, we just exist as successive moments of consciousness, one after the other. And depending on like how you think, if you have a thought of good or bad, like, it like creates a ripple effect, and like, this is what karma is. And over time you develop good karma or bad karma, and then when you die, you literally just get reborn again. Like, and I'm like, well, where do you go in the meantime? You know, like, if you die and then you get reborn, like, where do you go, and like, who gets reborn? And like, one of the analogies that one of the monks used to describe it was like, imagine like a candle, right? Like, if there's a candle and there's a flame and you blow it out, where does the flame go? I don't know. He didn't know either. They're like, they're basically just not concerned with that, which is very interesting. They're like, we don't know, basically. And I'm like, well, then where did we come from? And they're like, fish, evolution. That's what they were saying. And to me, it just felt kind of odd, this part about it. But like I said, I was genuinely curious. Like, I genuinely wanted to know what they believed and why they believe it, and like, how does this help them, you know? And it was just a whole nother way and perspective of seeing the world. And I don't know if this is how all monasteries and all monks what they believe, or if this was just like specific to here, because I have seen other Buddhists talk about like consciousness and like how we're all one consciousness. Like they didn't really believe that, which I thought was very interesting. But regardless, wait, I had a little bit of notes here. Yeah. So, because I've always believed that we do have a soul, that we do have a higher self, that there is God, right? Not like some figure up in the sky, but like that God is what holds us all together, like the consciousness, the place we all come from. Like God is all knowing and it's infinite. It's just like where, I don't know, like, and one thing that I not pride myself in, but like I know that I don't know, right? I know that I don't know what the fuck is going on. And I think anybody that says that they know exactly, or that they believe something so firmly, some ideology so firmly, like that person actually knows less than the person who just admits that they actually don't know. Like I think that God, we actually just don't know what God is, or like what this shit fucking means, or what the purpose of a lot of these things are, right? And I just saw that way of viewing the world as kind of depressing in a way. Like I genuinely kind of felt that Buddhism was like kind of depressing, and the whole purpose of it is to end suffering in yourself. It's like you become enlightened so that you can end your own suffering by letting go and accepting that everything is not permanent, that you can basically just let everything go, and if you control your mind, then you can basically end suffering. And it's true, and it's true. And on the same side, this is what I really like about Buddhism, because it's so practical, right? Where other religions, they just tell you to believe in some higher power and some higher thing that's going to solve all your problems if you just believe. Oh, just say you believe and you'll be okay, and you'll be saved and you'll go to heaven. And like, I also don't agree with that. You know what I mean? So all this to say, I'm not talking bad about it at all. I thought it was so fascinating to actually see how Buddhism worked and see the world from such a different perspective, and take the things that I find valuable, which is literally the practical side. Like, it is so valuable and beneficial to be able to have control over your mind. Literally, I felt like the whole week was just mentality training, mental training, concentration training, focus training, because the world is moving so fast all the time, right? And what this week forced me to do was to slow down, right? I wasn't on my phone. I wasn't checking Instagram. I wasn't even trying to figure out like the problems that have been trying to figure out. Like, oh, what am I gonna offer? How am I gonna make money? What is my next few months gonna look like? Like all these things that I'm always trying to actively figure out, I was literally letting everything go, right? We were practicing a lot of walking meditation, which was really, really cool. And one of the things that I got to do also was to deepen my understanding and my awareness of meditation as a whole, and how to actually meditate, right? Like we were practicing. So a lot of times when you hear meditation, people are like, oh, just focus on your breath, right? Or focus on your breath, or like say some mantra, or scan your body. Like these are all methods that you can meditate, obviously. But there's like two distinctions which I was able to make and like really integrate deeper throughout this experience, which was, the first kind is like concentration meditation, where you're literally just concentrating, on your breath, or on some sort of mantra, or you're scanning your body, etc., etc. But the next step is vipassana meditation, where you're actually focusing on your mind, which is focusing on your breath. which is also aware of the sensations that you're feeling in your body. Like right now I'm feeling heat on my skin, right? I feel that I'm like kind of sweating a little bit. You're aware of the body, and then you're aware of the emotions that you're feeling, right? So like what exactly are you feeling right now? Like right now I feel pretty calm and pretty peaceful. I don't have any big emotions that I'm feeling, but sometimes you can feel sad or whatever. It's like being aware of what's actually happening, right? And you're aware of thoughts coming in. So if a thought comes in, you're like, oh, I'm thinking, you know? And you can never be in a thought and know that you're in a thought at the same time. So it's like if you are concentrating on your breath, but then you move your awareness to your mind, and you concentrating on your breath just becomes like in the background, and you're focusing on your mind. Obviously, at some point, you're going to start thinking either of a story about something, or about the future, or about the past, or like an idea. Something's going to come in your mind, and you're going to get lost in that thought. But because you're meditating, you're going to go, oh, I'm aware that I'm thinking now. And then you just say, hey, I'm thinking, and now you come back to that awareness of your mind. And you just keep doing that. Like that's all meditation really is. It's just like intentionally being aware of your mind at all times. And we were doing a lot of walking meditation, which was really cool because I had never done walking meditation like this so much, to where, yeah, I'm literally just walking and meditating, and you're doing this. So like you have so much more sensory input, and your feet are touching the ground, and you're walking, and there's all these things. So it's like you have to actually almost concentrate harder. And I don't know, it was really cool, and I was really able to practice like these two types of meditations and like differentiate between them. Concentration meditation is called samatha, and then vipassana is insight meditation. So this is when you start to get insights, because you notice where your mind is going, you notice what's happening in your body, you notice how a thought made you feel, and then you can just like let it go, but you become aware of it. And this is how you can start to learn like so much about your own mind, about your tendencies, about your patterns, etc., etc. Like it's honestly such a great tool for everybody to have and for everybody to do. I have already felt, even before going here, like how much meditation has impacted and helped my life. But now I see it more clearly, and I just want to continue to practice it and like integrate it into my life. Because right now, where the world is literally moving at 1,000 miles an hour, and there's so many things fighting for your attention and trying to take your attention, like the most important thing you can do is have control over your attention, have control over your mind, and know how to move slow, right? Like not moving at this pace that the world makes you believe you need to move at. Like just actually move slow. It's so fucking valuable, like so valuable. So anyways, those were the biggest things that I took away from it. One of the questions that I had for the monk also was like, okay, I have big goals, right? And I love that you guys, the monks, are able to live here and find happiness by basically letting go of everything. Because the core principle is that like all suffering comes from greed, all suffering comes from anger, right? Like attachments, and from ignorance, right? So if you can get rid of greed and suffering, and greed and attachments and basically ignorance by developing wisdom through meditation, then you can end suffering. Like that's what Buddhism is, and that's what being enlightened is when you're able to get rid of these three things, right? So I'm like, okay, if desire and greed is the cause of all suffering, then am I just supposed to let go of all my desires and like not have any goals, right? So that's what I asked the monk. And the answer that he told me was basically this. He thought, which I really liked, that you should have goals. That having goals is a good thing, right? Like, we live in the world and like we should have goals. And he said that like the Buddha had the goal of becoming enlightened so that he could help others. So he had to accept the suffering that would come from pursuing this goal, basically. And that if your goal is to help others, so it's like, say you want to be a millionaire by 30, right? On one end, you could say, I want to be a millionaire by 30 so that I could have a bunch of money and just like, I don't know, buy a nice house and buy a nice car and like, you know, basically just greed, like greed, right? Like, you want all this stuff for yourself. Or you could say, I want to be a millionaire by 30 so that I can like support a family, so that I can, you know, take care of my mom and my dad, and that I can, you know, be there for them and support them, and yeah, like take care of my wife, take care of my kids, and do something, you know, by giving back to, and give back to the world, right? And like, that's a good goal to have, right? So like, money becomes the vehicle which you're able to do those things, and that makes attaining the goal that much easier, because you're doing it out of love and you're doing it out of service to others, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that the way that you make money has to be this like grand, like, you know, humanitarian thing where you're like serving the world, but like, your goal is to make money so that you can help the people in your life, so you can give back to your community, to people that need it, right? And this keeps you aligned basically towards the right goal, in the right direction. And that makes attaining the goal, like, it makes the suffering that you have to go through worth it, because it's for others, and it just makes it easier too, because you're not doing it from a place of greed. You're doing it from a place of service and of giving. And I think that's one of the biggest things I took away from it, because a lot of times, especially if we're doing something online, we're trying to build an online business, it's like, why are you doing it? Because if you're doing it from a place of greed, because you want to make money, oh, I want to make so much money, I want to, you know, I want to be liked, I want people to see me a certain way, I want to be respected, and all these things, then it makes it so much harder, because you start to feel like you're doing it from this energy, and you start to second guess everything, and you're like, am I doing this right? Am I marketing myself correctly? Like, are people going to think this of me? All these things, like, it brings up so many things. But if you just flip the frame and flip how you're doing it, and you say, how can I help other people, right? How can I give more of myself to others that need it? And how can I show up and serve the world, right? Like, I genuinely have things that I want to give people, and I know that what I have can help. So now you almost feel bad for not sharing it, right? Like, you feel bad for hiding the things that you know that can actually help people. So if you just flip the frame, it makes it so much easier to be able to actually go and show up, because now you're not doing it from a place of greed, you're doing it from a place of giving and of service. And when you focus on that, then all of a sudden your problems and what you think people think of you for showing up and for sharing, like, disappear, because you know that you're helping the people that need it, right? The right people that you're making it for are actually being served and are actually being touched and moved by what you're doing and what you're sharing and what you're giving. And that just makes it so much easier to be able to accomplish your goal, right? If I'm like, oh, I want to make a bunch of money for me, then like, yeah, it's cool, and like sometimes you can be motivated by that, but like, honestly, I'm really not. But if I think about, I want to make a bunch of money so that I can like go and be close with my family, because I've been living in Bali and like it's not as easy for me to just go back and forth, and like all these little things. Like, I want more money so that I can be there for other people and support other people. Like, I want to be able to send my dad money, right? Because I know he's struggling, and I want to support the people that I love. And if I keep that at the forefront, then it makes all the things that I have to go through to achieve the goal so much easier, right? So I think that is just such a big key component that I took away from this experience, was to do things for others, basically. Have goals so that you can help others, and going through the things that you have to go through to achieve them, which is going to be suffering, there's going to be pain, there's going to be loneliness and hardship, all this stuff. It'll just make it so much more worthwhile, and you'll actually be able to endure it long enough to be able to reach the goal. And doing it from that energy is actually what makes it work, because now you're giving, you're not trying to take, right? And once you're coming at things from a giving place, then people feel it, right? On the other end of the screen, how your content comes across, how you're speaking, it's all energy. So that was super big. And one thing that I've been realizing lately that has also kind of blown my mind is because I've been listening to the Steve Jobs biography. I mean, it's a book. I'm listening to the audiobook on Spotify. And how much Steve Jobs practiced Buddhism, like how integral it was in his life. And one of the things he said was that, like, Buddhism and Eastern philosophy put such a big emphasis on intuition, where the Western world, it's such a big emphasis on intellect. And obviously they're both important. Like, intellect is also important, right? Like being able to know how to do things and like being smart. But the Western world ignores intuition. And one of the things that made Apple so great was Steve Jobs following his intuition and being in tune with himself and practicing meditation and like being being able to hear and make decisions out of what feels right and not what is just logical, right? Because a lot of times we're trying to make decisions from what is logical and the things that we're trying to reason, but most times the best decisions come from what actually feels the best, right? When it's coming from the heart, when it actually feels good, even if it doesn't make sense. And the monk didn't really talk about this, but I did ask him. I was like, okay, cool. If we have these goals, right, how do we actually use this to attain them? How do we use meditation to attain our goals? And he gave this analogy where it's like, imagine a pond, right? And after it rains, there's all this shit and all this junk and trash on top of the pond, right? So it's hard to see. It's muddy, it's murky, you can't really see it. That's basically your mind, like all the time when you don't meditate. But if you wait and, you know, you allow the stillness to just, whatever, like, if the pond is still for long enough, then all the junk, all the stuff will go to the bottom, right? And it will clear. And this is what happens when you meditate. When you quiet your mind and you are still, then all the junk that is always moving in your mind that you become aware of, and you let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go, and you just get to a point where there's stillness. Eventually you'll be able to see things that are on the surface, or new things will surface that didn't have room to surface before, right? So say you're a creator or an entrepreneur or an architect or whatever, and you're working on a project and you're stuck on a problem, right? Well, a lot of times the way to find the solution isn't to think about it more. It's actually to stop thinking about it. That's why you get ideas when you're in the shower, or when you're on walks, or when you're running or working out, like when you're not thinking about it, because then you're not clouded with all this junk in your mind, and all the junk goes to the bottom, and then boom, you get an idea. So one of the things that I liked that the monk said is that he always keeps a notebook by him, right? Because whenever you get an idea or like a download, you got to write that shit down, because that's actually like valuable information. And like I said, he didn't actually say this, but I feel like that's your intuition, right? And that, in my opinion, is your higher self. That is the version of you that knows, that's telling you, right? It's like we're connected to this source where we're getting these ideas and these nudges in these directions, but we're never going to hear them if we aren't quiet for long enough to be able to actually hear. And the fact that Steve Jobs was so adamant about this, the biggest company like Apple of our time, right? And Steve Jobs was literally so devoted to practicing Buddhism, I think just goes to show like how important it is to be able to hear our mind, to control our mind, and to hear our internal knowing and our guidance and our intuition, and like get these ideas, right? Like so many of the greatest inventors have said this, like Ben Franklin and I don't know, like Mozart and what's the other one? Da Vinci. How like they would get their best ideas on walks, and they would literally make time for just not doing anything and like being still. And that is one of the biggest things that I am taking from this experience, is to just give myself more time to do nothing. Yesterday I did something so seemingly small but so significant, because I hadn't done this in months, which was I was working here at my house, my new place here in Bali, and I was like, I want to go to the gym. So I went to the gym, but before, I would always take my computer with me everywhere. And this time, I left my computer. Such a small thing, but like, we don't always need to be working, right? In fact, it works against us to think that we always need to be working. If we just move slower, if we move more intentionally, if we sit down with the intention to work, and we think about what is the thing that's going to be the most impactful for this next hour, these next 2 hours, and we just work on that, and then we say, okay, cool, now I'm going to go do this, and we just do one thing at a time, right? And between working, go on walks, right? Walk. Think about nothing, right? Meditate. I've been meditating in the mornings. I've been going on walking meditations, right? I've been reading more. Like I'm not on my phone as much. And I'm moving slower. But now, because I don't feel like I need to be working all the time, now I'm making this YouTube video, which is something that I've been like always consistently putting off, because I tell myself I don't have time because I need to be doing other stuff. But like, that's not how it works, right? Like, we can do so many things if we just do one thing at a time. And I think that is 100% the biggest thing that I'm taking from this, is just this internal shift that happened inside of me, which is to move slower and to really internalize the fact that moving slow is fast. So I'm super excited to continue to move at this pace, to really protect my energy and my peace, and take the rhythm and pace that I experienced in the monastery out into the world, and to continue to move slow. I moved into a new place in Bali, which I really enjoy. It's super quiet and peaceful here. I have my space, and just value my peace and my energy and my internal state so much more, right? To stop feeling like I need to move at 1,000 miles an hour and just slow down. And the paradox is that you actually get more done that way. So that's basically it. Like I said, I'm super excited to show up more on here, to just document what I'm doing, what I'm building, my life, things I'm working on. I got some new exciting things coming. I realized too throughout this, like, what's actually meaningful for me, and like when I think about how I can really show up and help others, it always comes back to the same thing, which is like help other people through my content, through my stories, through the offers that I make. Just build lives that are actually true to them, that feel good, that are meaningful for them, right? To build a life where your brand and your business and who you are all one, right? Where you don't have to split yourself or pick one aspect of yourself or split your identity, right? Like to have one congruent life where everything flows as one. That is what I'm so passionate about, and that is literally always when I quiet my mind and when I really get still is the core essence behind everything I am and everything I do. So I'm excited to continue to do this and to help others and to show up and to create, because that's what I like to do. So that's basically it. I didn't realize this would be 50 minutes long, basically a podcast, which I'm starting soon with my brother, which is really cool. I'm excited. But yeah, that's basically it. Hope you enjoyed and hope you got something out of this. And if you are craving a more congruent life, cohesive life, then stay tuned, because I got some exciting stuff that I'm excited to announce. And yeah, holy shit. So much love and talk soon.